Je vous demande de prendre vos places, s'il vous plaît. Bonjour.
Hello, Mr. Minister, Mr. Vice Presidents and Presidents of the regions, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We will start this closing session, and I invite to join me here Madame Christiane Barré, General Delegate of the French Presidency, Mr. Christian Estrosi, Mayor and President of the Metropolis Nice-Côte d'Azur, Mr. Patrick Molinos, Vice President of the Bourgogne-Franche-Comté region, Mr. Renaud Muselier, President of the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur region, Deputy President of Regions of France, and Mr. Joël Giroux, Secretary of State in charge of Rural Affairs. Hello again. Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to give the floor first to our host, Mr. Christian Estrosi, Mayor of Nice and President of the Nice-Côte d'Azur Metropolis. Mr. Estrosi, you have the floor. Madam European Commissioner, dear Elisa Ferreira, who will join us on, Mr. Secretary of State, Joël Giroux, ladies and gentlemen, presidents and vice presidents and representatives of the regions, and particularly my dear Renaud Muselier, president of our region and vice president of Regions of France, of USALP, Madame Christiane Barré, ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the authorities, regional authorities, and the civil society. We are coming to the end of our annual forum on the macro-regional strategy for the Alpine region. I was very happy to welcome you with my deputy mayor yesterday, Magali Altounian, who's in charge of European affairs. I am delighted to have been able to welcome you this year in Nice for very high quality exchanges. And I know now that we have a first assessment of these days. I know that they were very promising for the sustainable, competitive, and inclusive future of this common territory. The USALP has shown its efficiency and its dynamism by coordinating our 7 countries. It has asserted itself as the relevant partner to converge private and public initiatives in national, regionals, local, at the service of sustainable development and the visibility of our Alpine region. And I want to highlight the relentless commitment of the French Presidency of USALP between 20 and 2021 in a context that was particularly complicated. The state has been able, through a collegial presidency, gathering the region Provence-Côte d'Azur, Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, and Bourgogne-Franche-Comté to deploy coordination efforts, momentum, and creativity that were quite exceptional. I would like to commend here our Minister Joël Giroux and our Vice President of the Association of the Regions of France, Renaud Muselier, who made sure that be implemented. We are a metropolis here. I know that the word metropolis is, depending on how you use it, embodies a city or a megalopolis, urban areas, and not necessarily the reality of the space as defined by the French legislation, which is an agglomeration of urban areas and rural areas. Here, this is what we try to define here, and I will tell you a bit more about that in a moment. Since we're very active fourth conference on mobility on the month of May of last year. This presidency was a clear success, and I want to commend the dynamism of the groups who, at all levels of governments, we need to carry on and coordinating actions to bridge the gaps, develop our image, our visibility, the economic activity, and also reinforcing the fight against climate warming. And on that one, the storm Alex was quite a bomb for us and was a wake-up call, because it is at the heart of this metropolis and our department that the valleys of La Tunée, Vesubie, and Roya are now embarked on a path of reconstruction and resilience. And I would like to thank you tremendously for the solidarity, the Alpine solidarity that was expressed during this terrible event. Thank you, of course, to the French government, to the President of the Republic, and in which we also find through the recovery plan the European financing and subsidies that are significant, and thanks to our region and to its president, Renaud Muselier, who helps us with significant financial resources. Dear Renaud, I would like as well to say that together, as soon as the catastrophe happened, we wrote to Ursula von der Leyen to activate this European Solidarity Fund that translated into 59 million euros for the impacted valleys. It's a beautiful collective work among our teams and with the French authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, USALP has come to a level of maturity and is ready to get to the next step. With the support of our president in our region, Nice has wished to host the permanent secretariat of the macro region of the Alps. I would like you to be assured of our full commitment. I would like to tell you in what state of mind we have built our metropolis by leaving aside the last pages that I was planning to read, to speak with you with my heart. I am the mayor of Nice, of course. I am, before all, I'm a mountain boy. I come from a little village in the Tinée Valley that was hit by the tempest. We've been lobbying together with Joël Giraud for years for our Alpine chain. And Renaud Muselier also has his ties in the Valley of Ubaye, whereas my village of Saint-Étienne-de-Tunay, this is how we meet through the pass of La Bonnette, which is the highest pass in Europe, which is at 2,800 meters. So I all started from there, from my village, that led me to represent a territory set between the mountains and the sea to the parliament of our country. Then I presided our department, and I held ministries to spatial territory planning overseas, and naturally to industry. As we know all, that the industry and eco-industries are very important for the attractiveness of our territories in terms of technology and smart territories, where we have to use all forms of artificial intelligence to protect our mountains. These are topics that are very important to us. With Renault, we took turn in sharing the presidency of this region. This region starts at 4,000 meters of altitude and to end in the sea. And while I became the mayor of Nice in 2008, in 2010, the French president of the time, Nicolas Sarkozy, decided to create a new public establishment in our decentralization project, which was called Metropolis. So we chose freely, and we're the first metropolis created in our country with 48 towns. So we're the first to create a metropolis in France. It was 90% of the towns in this territory, representing 98% of the population. So it was a territory from the beginning of solidarity. I am the mayor of a city of 360,000 inhabitants, but the smallest town holds 70 inhabitants, and it's in the national park of the Mercantour, and we have 5 ski resorts in the territory. So just to tell you that on May 1st, I have to send my guys taking the snow out in the Bonnet Pass so people can drive and there could be traffic. And then I go down and help the people who are in charge of the summer activities. I can tell you that I am aware of it all. What threatens us the most is, of course, global warming. Years to come. So what we represent, we're with our 7 countries and 48 regions in the Alps, is a fundamental element in the debates that we're going to be holding together. We are looking within ourselves to create a metropolis, and I always like to describe it as the snow melting in the sea and the rivers feeding the water resources to all end in the Mediterranean Sea. So that's where the urban world in the Alps has a major responsibility to be at the same time presiding the opening of our ski resorts, to have responsibility on the national park of the Mercantour to protect our ecosystem, and knowing at the same time that everything that happens in 2,500 meters above the sea level comes from all the damage that could be done, including at our coast, with all the CO2 emissions or NOx emissions. You are in a building that will not be there in 2 years, because by then we will have built a new space, much more up-to-date in terms of eco-construction and also welcoming space, even if this one seems comfortable. Why am I taking such a decision? Here, this building, in terms of carbon footprint, it's in the heart of the city, 1,700 tons of CO2 emission per year. It's an incredible source of heat. And with the help of Renaud Musier, we're going to replace by an urban forest in the heart of the city. We know that the goal of minus 55 at 2030 and carbon neutrality at 2050 must be the priority of what we can call the people who deal and manage urban networks. And it's up to us who represent the rural areas and the mountain areas, but also the urban areas, to raise the alert by saying that all the urban territories of our alpine territory must be able to protect the future, must be strong enough to be protected in the future. We know now that we have new phenomenon in terms of the pandemics, insects, parasites, pests. Of course, the melting of the permafrost on a number of mountains could have some health consequences. And as I always say, all of our mountain range that we all represent here is something that was entrusted to us by democracy. It's a piece of glacier. We have a little polar bear on it. And it's our duty to protect it. We will not revert the global warming throughout the planet, but if we coordinate our efforts on our countries and our regions, I believe that we can conduct some very innovative policies and address some real challenges to protect better than others in the planet this space that is very close to our hearts. This is why entrusting us with this secretariat here in Nice is very important. It's by the Mediterranean. It's at the foot of the Alps, but it's at the heart of the Alps in a way. And here we will be able to support the Italian Presidency, which will start at the end of our Congress, and the French Presidency, and will be very committed to it. We have a management agency for health and for risk management in general, with experts, weather specialists that we will put at your disposal so they get fully involved in the actions that you will conduct in the months and years to come. It is the message as well that I wanted to give you by thanking you for all the exchange that you've had in the last 2 days, and that will be very precious information to use, and will be up to the confidence that you gave us. We're very happy to be able to host you in Nice, that you recognize as an alpine capital. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I wish you a very good end of the Congress.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le
Thank you very much. I'm now going to hand the floor over to Christiane Barrett, who is General Delegate of the French Presidency. You are going to talk about the added value of the role that you have played. Thank you very much. Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to give a testimonial of this new job which was created as the French Presidency. It didn't exist before that. So I just want to give my testimonial to tell you how much pleasure I had being involved, being the director of the orchestra, if you like, of Team France here, because it really was a team that worked throughout these 2 years. And I want to say also how useful the job was, and I saw that as time went by. So this position was a technical role. It was a coordination role. We already had a national coordinator, as is the case in all countries. We had Nicolas Gouvernet in France. Yesterday, we paid tribute to him yesterday, and I'd like to repeat that today. And also to his team. Nicolas and his team were really the workers that got everything done every day. And then the government felt that it was essential to have an intermediary level coordination between the politicians who we have here on the stage and also the technical teams in all of the Alpine countries. So I stepped into that role and did my best, given my professional experience and my knowledge of the mountains, because I too live at the top of a mountain. So this role was to federate the different players that I've just mentioned. Team France was able to speak to everybody and was also very efficient thanks to that role. And so we joined central administrations together, the different administrations, throughout all of the events of the French presidency. And all of the events which we had organized were carried out throughout the entire territory, in between lockdowns. And it really was a true pleasure to get back together again, to see each other in the flesh. We worked with quite a few ministries, more with some than others, given the theme, one being the combat against global warming. We worked with the transport, ecology, European affairs departments, and each time we had to create bridges. We worked a lot with local councils, and what we've just heard from Christian Estrosi illustrated that very well. It was really important to us to demonstrate that USALP works at every level, from the valleys all the way through to the metropolis, and we had a lot of organisation to do for our different events. We went to Grenoble, for example. At the end of lockdown, we were all able to get together in real life for some very useful working sessions. We also created links with civil society and associations. USALP's role is to bring citizens on board at all levels, so we would include mainly in the action groups, which really are the muscles of the USALP, but we also have the scientists, the citizens and associations, and we really wanted to make all of our projects really concrete. We wanted to roll out experiments and incubate ideas. There was CIPRA was involved, which is internationally known, totally committed throughout Europe. I would also like to mention Mountain Wilderness, with which we organized a conference of the transition of tourism, which was a new addition to the agenda, because thanks to links that were developed between the different levels. So that conference was a huge success, and of course the youngsters are the voice of the future. I would also mention Alps, which is a network of protected areas throughout the Alps. I would also mention our friends at the Alpine Convention. Volker Meidhofer is with us here. So at every single level, people were involved, and the citizens too were involved, local associations. And we had a recent event in Evian where we could see, on the theme of water that you mentioned, that really does sum up that leitmotif from the highest mountain right the way down to the sea, illustrates how important water is. We organized an event about water. It was a huge success in Evian, and it's all very coherent. So Team France and this role of Delegate General helped conversations flow between all of the different partners that I've mentioned. It was a way of making sure that every level got hold of the right information, and occasionally it smoothed things, and it got rid of certain obstacles, helped people to understand each other, and helped people communicate that weren't used to communicating together. The subject of pastoralism can be a bit of a tricky subject sometimes. And some of the events we organized on pastoralism were very, very interesting, and it showed the value of bringing people together to talk. I'd like to thank the government for having offered me this job. At the beginning, we didn't really know what it was going to become, what it was going to look like. But day after day, we sketched out the role. So thank you to Madame Gouraud, who appointed me, and thank you to our Minister, Joël Giraud. I think the French presidency of USALP would not have been what it was without Joël Giraud, because he's one of the founding fathers. He's totally committed. He's a mountain man. So who better could we have chosen than Joël Giraud to preside over our organisation? I know you all agree with me on that. I think one of the key ingredients of the success of our French presidency, and I think everyone recognizes it has been a success, is down to him, down to Joël. And to wrap up, I would just like to congratulate and warmly, sincerely thank all of the teams. There's the European Commission team with its new director, Mr. Tokarski, Jean-Pierre Alquin, Julie Tiran, and through her, I would like to send our warm regards to Philomena, who's not with us today, but we have worked a lot with her for this USAP meeting. I'd also like to thank the partners from the 3 regions. Maggie Digit was with us yesterday. Fabrice Pankouk had to leave today, but he has given us so many explanations about what the USAP Alps is. And of course, the different teams in the 3 regions, the coordinators, Sylvain Guettas, Pauline Tressac, Cécile Cadet, Benoît Garrigue. And once again, Nicolas, thank you very much. So despite the health crisis, I think we have taken USAP forward, and it really is entering into Act 2 after the opening scenes. And so we've got funding thanks to the European Commission, and we can look forward to some plain sailing ahead. I'd like to now say a few words to our Italian friends. We're going to hand the baton over to the Italians at the end of this meeting. We've already worked together an awful lot to prepare the Italians, and I would like to commend the representatives. Renato, for example, we met in Grenoble, and we got to know each other very, very well there. And we developed a good relationship even then. And this morning there have been more meetings to look into things in detail. And as you mentioned, Mr. Muselier, a presto.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Now I invite Patrick Molinos, Vice President of the Bourgogne-Franche-Comté region. You're going to tell us about this French presidency that was marked by the pandemics, the COVID crisis, and that showed the resilience of this Alpine region. Mr. Mayor, we are in your city, so I start with you, Mr. President of the region. We're within your region, but Mr. Minister, we are in your country. So we're all, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what I am doing here. Madame Barré, I'm glad to see a woman on the stage. Otherwise, there would be no gender parity. Thank you. It's important. First of all, I want to thank, teams, the state teams, our agents, all the volunteers and all the actors of the associations that contribute to this huge work that, for the most part, comes from the political will, from a common will from states and regions, presidents and mayors, presidents of metropolis, who want to build together around a space that is central in Europe and for which we must get involved in. The Commission understands and supports this political will. And the little cousin that I represent today, Marie-Christine Dufay, commits with the Bourgogne-Franche-Comté to get involved in this Alpine front. So what I retain from these works and the French presidency is the strength of this political commitment around themes that you reminded us, Mr. Mayor, the energy transition, climate changes, and all the impacts that it has in terms of transport, awareness, water protection, environment, and also it's one of the topics that mobilized the Bourgogne-Franche-Comté region and the youth, that mobilized the youth. This was really crucial for the president, Marie-Guy Dufay, to make sure that the young people get involved in this political project and that it's not only done by men and women that are senior, but also by young people who will be the actors of the life in the Alps that we love so much. And I think they all defended the attractiveness of this territory. Even if we need strong metropolis, we always need to keep in the villages of the Alps young people who stay at home and work at home. So for us, Bourgogne-Franche-Comté region, it was a major challenge, and we're very happy to see that yesterday was the official creation of the Youth Council, and we could see this morning how the youth workshop of the morning allowed a lot of exchanges and co-construction, to use a fashionable word, and all the exchanges among all these youngsters who want to build a common future. So that was the stake of this political will of Youth Alp. And since we need to give the floor to the president of the region and to the state secretary, I will give you the floor to conclude, but I'll tell you a few words for, in my view, what we're building here right now, while respecting our differences throughout our regions, our countries, our legislations, our understanding of different subjects. We're building a common future and a part of universalism, which makes our unity in Europe beyond the borders of the European Union. And I would like to send a message here to Switzerland, as the relations with Switzerland now are a bit complex, and yet we're very committed to having a good relationship with Switzerland and Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. So I really hope that we will find a way between the European Union and Switzerland, because the Alpine space really needs an active contribution from our Swiss friends. I know the Interreg project is not impacted by these difficulties, but it is important that we keep the hope to see those difficulties disappear. We also want to wish Italy a very good presidency, and I am sure Mr. State's Minister will say later on, let's think already who's going to follow up after Italy for the next presidency. So long life to Youth Alp, and long live to the Alps.
Président Renaud Muselier.
Now we'll hear from Renaud Muselier. Okay, so here we are at the closing session. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope you were quite comfortable. We enjoyed it, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's true. I think there are about 500 people of us representing 7 countries, 48 communes in the Alps. It's a really important time for such a macro region. There aren't a lot of European macro regions. And so I think there are 3 or 4. There's the Baltic area, there's us, and another one. And so the stakes are rather high for us. I met with the press, we chatted. Most of our fellow citizens in Europe wonder what on earth the Youth Alp is all about. What's the point? Well, Youth Alp is a shared history that we have within Europe. It's a continent, the European continent, where we've got the Alps, the range of mountains that we share. We, with our friends from Bourgogne-Franche-Comté, and I really would like to thank the presidents and their representatives and the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region, those 2 regions, and the PACA region and the French government, Madame Barrier. Madame Ferreira is also to be thanked. She'll say a few words in a moment. Europe is tricky. People wonder what on earth the point is. Is it of any use to us? What on earth can we get out of these 2 years of presidency? Well, in simple, concrete terms, we have 7 axes which have been determined, 42 events, 64 projects up and running. I like things that are practical. and simple. So let's identify the results now. We've got sustainable tourism with a few examples all year round. We've got long distance hiking track, 520 kilometers over the mountain transhumance track in France and in Italy, promoting the use of locally produced mountain goods, promoting pastoralism, mapping out the Alps, launching a label scheme. There's that chapter on sustainable transport and mobility. One of the major pieces of progress which we've made is labels for strategic secondary routes which are not eligible for the European scheme, but which for PACA lines, one which runs from Nice to Cuneo, and they are incorporated in the special European program so that they can be supported. And we've got youngsters that are working towards protecting the Alps. Marie-Guite has a project which takes stock of youngsters' initiatives with the 1001 Alpine Nights project, which enables youngsters to sleep in the mountains. And there's another hike project for professionals in the sports area. And we've got another project, IAFA, encountering young decision makers. And we had the 3 prize winners yesterday of the youngsters' innovations, that emotional card, the circular economy, and an app to encourage people to better manage their waste. Another chapter is energy management in the Alps. Christian Estrosi talked about that, the Casco project for using wood from our region in the construction industry, protecting biodiversity and natural hazards, with the sustainable management of mountain aquatic milieu, managing the ecosystems and ensuring ecological continuity across our borders, and of course the Solidarity Fund from the European Union, which throughout our 2-year presidency has been kicked into action and has been of benefit to the victims of Storm Alex, both in France and in Italy. We've been able to integrate our Alpine zone into European projects for the future in all of our countries. And at the end of the day, we created this secretariat, which is going to be one office in Nice that will ensure that we will consolidate all of our actions and work with our European friends, and we will be able to monitor how we manage to use funds from Europe for the Alps. The constant question in our mind is, what on earth is the point of Europe? Is it useful at all? Of course, there are European political projects of living in peace together, not fighting anymore, to develop the continent. What is the quality of life, the purchasing power of each citizen? And in difficult times, we see that there are many acronyms which are just beyond our comprehension. That being said, if you can use those acronyms, if you can explain to the European Parliament, if you can explain to the European Commission, if you can explain to the general management of Europe how our territories work, what our desires are, how we organize our travel, our sustainable development, our spatial planning, our combat against climate change, if you can do that, we can use Europe as an extra door for further funding for our projects, multilateral projects that benefit our citizens. And it is so vital to know how to do that. And that is the easiest way that I can find to explain what Europe is. I am definitely for Europe. I am a pro-European. Most of my family have been deported in different times. We've encountered problems, but now we have peace on our continent, and now we have this fundamental role of this big European economic power that is Europe. It means that we are no longer shoved to the sidelines by the Americans, for example, or by the Russians that try to break Europe, or the Chinese economic power. So we are at the crossroads. We are at the table. We must learn to work together, to live in peace and to respect one another. In this region here, we've evolved so much. When we first turned up, Christian Estrosi and I, when we came to the PACA region, we had only 300,000 euros. But then, as things developed, we managed to build with the Europeans for 5 billion, so from 300 million to 5 billion, 1.6 billion here in this particular département. And that has been possible because Europe does have its constraints and its difficulties. And it's organized in a complex way, but it does have the possibility of achieving objectives. When you organize your administrations, when you have the political will, then you can get an answer from Europe. And so that is what we are doing here. That's our approach with the mayor of Nice, Christian Estrosi, and all the vice presidents and the mayors of different territories. And I really would like to thank the General Consul of Germany, who's with us. We've been working hand in hand with Madam Consul on all cases. There are so many thanks. Thanks for the administrations. We have to give the administration a kick up the pants from time to time to get them moving. And we have to show the citizens that the results are there. I think the best explanation that we've ever had is that here in these départements, here in this region, this territory that was traumatized violently with Storm Alex, and there was such solidarity that came through, European solidarity for our citizens. So thank you very much for all of your hard work. And our Italian friends are going to take over now. Grazie mille. Good luck. Fare thee well, a presto, viva Italia. I'm just digging around for all the Italian words I know here. So we have to work together because we mountain dwellers, we're just different. We're not like everybody else. Perhaps we've got our head in the clouds most of the time. Perhaps it's because we breathe so much fresh air. Perhaps it's because we love our forests with all those wonderful animals in them. Because we're in a region where there is very little pollution. So let's make sure that we can work together. And thank you very much for being here in Nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Listen to the message recorded by Mrs. Elisa Ferreira, European Commissioner in charge of reforms.
Dear colleagues, distinguished delegates and esteemed guests, unfortunately, other commitments have prevented me from joining you live for this session. But I still wanted to share some reflections with you on the occasion of your 5th forum. Today, the torch is passed from one presidency to the next. My sincere thanks to the French Presidency for all you have done these past 2 years. We often praise those who go the extra mile, but seldom does it apply so literally. Even under the challenges of COVID, you were willing to shoulder responsibilities of the presidency 2 years in a row. Our heartfelt thanks. And now the torch passes to our Italian colleagues. You have our full confidence and support to deliver on the goals of the strategy. And this is crucial because the stakes are very high. The Alpine strategy focuses on key future priorities. Priorities such as promoting digitalization through the Smart Villages initiative, priorities such as the common macro-regional educational space, boosting the skills of young people, and preparing them for the green and digital transition. Priorities such as the common roadmap for decarbonization of transport in the Alpine region. You are fast becoming a model and a reference for others in your work on trans-European green infrastructure, and especially the vast untapped green potential of hydrogen fuel. In pursuing this work, I encourage you to make the most of 3 key opportunities and resources. First, embedding You have a crucial opportunity to embed your strategic priorities in your Alpine strategy into the almost 100 programs covering the whole region. We and the Council have opened the door for you. In the new legislative proposals for cohesion policy, we emphasized link to macro-regional strategies. In other words, cohesion programs from the participating countries should mutually reinforce the objectives of the macro-regional strategies, and macro-regional strategies should also play a role in strengthening economic, social, and territorial cohesion. So the door is open, and cooperation is the next step to making this happen in practice. Through the action groups and through the dialogue with bodies managing funding, this approach is already bearing fruit in the thematic network of hydrogen fuel. Let us all commit at the political level to encourage more alignments like this. And second opportunity is governance, and specifically the technical support structure. I strongly support your decision to strengthen the governance and the strategy with this structure. We in the European Commission are doing our part to accelerate this process by granting a contract to give the structure a quick start. To support day-to-day functioning of the Alpine strategy, to smooth the transition between the two presidencies, and to enable the strategy to reach its full potential. I urge you to ensure that this structure is up and running without further delay. And third opportunity, and the closest to my heart, I must confess, is youth. I congratulate you for all you have done to involve youth through the Youth Council, which is officially established today, but already has a solid track record of achievements. I also congratulate you for the other youth initiatives in the Alps, such as the Pitch Your Project competition. The Alpine strategy is the first macro-regional strategy to have a dedicated space where young people can speak on an equal footing with key decision makers. I very much look forward to seeing the Youth Council in action. We need young people. Not only because digital transformation and the green transition affect them more than any of us, but also because in facing these challenges, we need young people's energy, their ideas, their enthusiasm. This also dovetails nicely with the fact that the Commission has proposed 2022 to be the European Year of Youth. Our work with youth plants a seed which will grow in the longer term. Dear colleagues, I will finish with some last words of encouragement. We saw during this event that the Alpine strategy achieves great results. But these results have only been possible thanks to the strong motivation, strong conviction, and strong collaboration between our Alpine friends and partners. Our thanks to all of you, particularly the French and Italian presidencies. This is groundbreaking work. I encourage all key players to consider whether they could hold the presidency in 2023 or in one of the years to come. You will become part of Alpine history. In the coming years, many European regions will be looking to the Alps for inspiration. Let us inspire them with a green and digital transformation. Let us inspire them with great governance embedded through the programs. And let us inspire them by showing how youth can be deeply involved in this work. My thanks to all of you. My thanks to the French and to the Italian presidencies, and my best wishes for good health to you and your loved ones. Thank you very much.
Merci. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Mr. Miniter, perhaps you'd like to take the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do something which is quite unusual for me. This is the fourth or fifth time I've taken the floor, and each time I'm going to try something different this time. But I'm also going to do something which I haven't done, because thanks to the Italian definition of the word autorité, I've been avoiding the full and representative of the PACA region. Christian, I really am happy to be here with you. I'd like to thank you for your welcome and for all the resources you have given to us for our meeting here. I know how you love the mountains. I remember once we were in the valley, the Tinné Valley together, not far from where you were born, and we were having a look at not what's happening in the valley, but what was going on beyond the valley, because that's absolutely wonderful. And I really love the mountains as you do. And so when I open my shutters in the morning, I see a mountain peak, which is called the Felix Neff. It's over 2,000 meters high. Or when I get home, because it's not always easy to get home nowadays. And I always remember the story of these alpine valleys, because this highest mountain in my region, it's called Felix Neff, because one time there was a pastor from Geneva who came to our valley and saw people dying of hunger. And so he simply started to grow some crops and introduced a crop which was not known in the 19th century, and that was potato. And so we are in a region on land that has always innovated, that's always wanted to evolve, because life was difficult and because life wasn't easy. Very often our region was used as an example for many others. And I think what we're doing today in terms of sustainable development is a perfect example for the entire planet. And I want to underline the role you have played in all mountain policy, including when you were a minister. So, Christiane Barré now, I'd like to commend you too. You were given this job. It was a unique kind of job. It's very rare that one calls upon someone who ended her career as a prefect of a region and then went on to be a wonderful team leader with Nicolas and all of the other team members which you mentioned. Christiane, I remember when you showed up for your first job as a prefect. I was still a student at that time, and it was in Briançon. And so, Tierra Novolta, which I don't want to offend or upset anybody, but the virus of the mountain, which you'd already been infected with, had really taken root. Even though the prefect at the time, back in the day, saw a woman show up and thought it wasn't a very good thing. But that's a whole nother story, as they say. But you managed to dig out your own place there, and I'd like to thank you for all of the work that you've carried out here during the French Presidency. Patrick Molinos now. You, as you will have seen, he's far more radical than I am, but he doesn't only eat all the time, he's also present in politics, on the political stage, defending the mountain. And I really do want to commend Marquis de Buffet's commitment. It really is a delight to have meetings run by her. But above and beyond that, to have a woman who is so active to work with youngsters, and that really is the best bet for our future. Renaud Muselier, I'd like to commend you also, President of the PACA region and Deputy President of the regions of France. It's easy to work with you, Renaud, because you are a very practical man. You're a man who wants his territory to move forward. And above and beyond any political discrepancies, I would like to say that it has been a delight to be with you here in Nice, because I've had such a very warm welcome. I've been interested to hear what you've been saying, and I've really enjoyed these months of work together, which have meant that we have been able to stabilize quite a lot of institutions here in the city of Nice. It could have been in Briançon, that could even have been better. But I think I hope the mayor of Nice didn't hear what I just said then. But at the end of the day, it's important for us to have this stability, which will mean that our macro-regional strategy will be able to be deployed. I would like to commend Elisa Ferreira, European Commissioner, who's just spoken to us by video there, and also Commissioner Tarkovsky, and Mr. Alkin also. I would like to commend them because we have interlocutors who are constantly working by our side in concrete manners, in a practical way, to solve any problems, any issues, and I can only sing their praises and sing the praises of the relationship we have with Europe. I continue to work with them a lot, with Commissioner Ferreira for the future presidency of the European Union. Just a short while ago, we were at a meeting together. We also want to have the European rural agenda to back up the French rural agenda. But I had to add a few corrections because there was nothing in the text about gender equality. I thought that was a bit of something which was lacking, so we've added that. And I would like to commend the work that we've already started to carry out. I'd also like to commend the Italian authorities who are going to take the floor later on. Mara Carfana, Italian Minister of Territorial Cohesion. I'd like to commend her. I know how much store she sets by the Alps. We've talked about this already, and I know that, as I said yesterday, we have the same mindset. We want to ensure the Lisbon Treaty is applied, the article which pertains to the mountains, and the need to have a specific policy for zones which are not densely populated, and for islands and for mountains. So that's the equivalent of our French law or European law for the mountains. And I know with the partners in crime, in inverted commas, such as they, I know that territorial cohesion will go from strength to strength. There's going to be a European text. It's going to be published soon, and I'm sure that will make sure that European good practice in rural affairs will become a public policy with the different counterparts in the different countries through our national partners. And I'd also like to commend and send my friendly wishes to the presidents of the autonomous provinces. We've got Arno Compaccia of Bolzano Bozen and Mikko Pisces, the province of Trento, who's been with us throughout these 2 days. It was difficult to find a party to take over after this 2 years of presidency and the pandemic. And I must say that thanks to them, we have total confidence. We're very proud of the work which has been accomplished, but we are also proud to hand over the presidency to our dear Italian friends. Thank you very much for your commitment. I'd also like to commend the representative of Martin Clavel, who is with us also. We have also held another event here because the Alpine Convention has been held this morning under the presence of Chantal and Martine Clavel. And that means that today, Christian Estrosi, you really are here in Nice, the capital of the Alps. This morning we went and had a look at the sea because I couldn't see the sea from my hotel room, so I thought I'd go and see the sea up close. It was great being out there on the Promenade des Anglais first thing in the morning. It was a dream. My dear friends, I would like to say that Nice hasn't been chosen just by happen chance. Passing over this torch to the Italian friends is the thing to do in the most Italian of French cities here in Nice. As you said earlier on, Christian, about the metropolis, I never want to oppose the rurals and the urbans because they fuel one another, they nourish one another. The metropolis, which I heard I think you were talking about this from the Edelweiss right down to the Goby fish in the sea. So you can go and fish out little fish, and then you can take it up to the top of the mountain and eat it among your Edelweiss there. I really do think that the public policies which we deploy are so important. We've got these reciprocal agreements between the city and the countryside. I think it's a very unique relationship here. It's not in opposition where no one should be whimpering, saying, just see how rich they are up there, or look down there towards the sea, how they're doing. I think that we need to have a good structure, we need to have cooperation, and I think given the structure which has been created, I think that really is the case here. So I supported the European strategy for the Alpine region, and I'm very proud to see all the work that has been carried out over these years. And over the years, we've all aged as well, so everything's natural. Combating climate change has been the priority of the French presidency, and we have had our work cut out for us in the Alps. In the Alps, we are on the front line in terms of climate change, and we're losing biodiversity. There are landslides, there are floods, the glaciers are melting, the snow period is getting shorter, and all of the all of those effects have an impact on the citizens' lives. And we wanted to make our Alps central to European structure and make it an incubator, so it can demonstrate possible solutions for protecting the solution and enhancing the quality of life for our inhabitants, because programs often address tourists. But let's think about those people who live in these areas and work in these areas. Since 2020, over 40 events have been organized by the French presidency, and that has translated into, for example, favoring rail transport for cargo rather than the roads, so clearing up the roads, reinforcing the protection of biodiversity throughout Europe, protecting flora and fauna in the Alps, and also promoting the circular economy and renewable energies. I would now like to highlight that conference of mountain tourism transition that involved 30 French valleys, to define a model of alpine tourism which has helped us to draw up the Future of the Mountains plan, which will, I think, be very efficient. And I can also see that it's, in financial terms, it's already proving to be very efficient. When we were in the General Assembly yesterday, I hope that conference will carry on again next year under the Italian presidency, with workshops in all of the different valleys. Elisa Ferreira has talked about youth and stressed the importance of youth. We created a youth council, and I believe that it's very useful to have done that, because the change makers, the game changers, are going to be the youngsters. And we need to listen to them, and we have to trust them, because they have a different way of looking at things. We, the founding fathers of these strategies, we see things differently. So we have a duty now to listen to them. We have a duty in the future to be organizations, whether we're governmental or regional. We have to be organizations that listen to the way youngsters foresee alpine strategies, because they see the mountains as more sustainable. They weren't born as we were back in the 50s, for example, where we had a single development model to look at, which did give a boost to the mountains, but it also has prevented them from developing different ways. So a lot of money has been placed in leisure accommodation because we didn't adopt the same models as Austria and Switzerland, which were focusing more on traditional accommodation. So yes, youth is very important, and the destiny of the Alps and the Alp dwellers need to have a concerted approach more than a strategy. Use Alp is a state of mind, and we can work on the ecological transition. So now I would like to stress how happy I am, how satisfied I am with how our General Assembly went and how our forum has gone and all of the Use Alps which have been organised. I would like to thank all of the councillors, and I would like really to thank Renault, for example, and the French regions, the French mountain regions, for all of the services in the Alps. And I'd also like to thank Christiane once again, because her mandate is coming to an end. And so now we are going to look towards the future. This wheel is turning. I don't know where that wheel has gone. So the wheel is here. I've not lost it. So the French presidency is coming to an end. I really am proud, very proud, that it's the Italians that are carrying on the flame. And so we've got this wheel, which is a symbol of our presidency, our system of switching presidency one after the other. So in 2016 it was Slovenian, and now we are handing it on to our Italians, to Bolzano. You can use either of the languages which are official there. We'll be meeting in the end of January there in Bolzano. So I know that we are going to have to keep the pressure up to make sure that the standards are kept as high as they are, but we must not get back in the same situation as we were in. We have to make sure that the next presidency is identified. We've got a wonderful tool here. It's useful for all of us around the Alps, and we have to make sure that the wheel keeps turning and that we have to be efficient, serene, and stable. So thank you very much to everybody. It's been a delight for me as a member of the French government to participate in these 2 days. It's been a thrill also for me to see that occasionally we can create political objects as the macro-regional strategy for the Alps, and to see that your child grows and escapes from you, but goes and grows independently, sustainably, stably, and to the benefit of these 80 million people who live in the Alps. Thank you.
La ruota. Et la ruota para l'Italia? Ah, alors regardez-moi.
So have a look at this. Isn't it lovely? Do I attempt to take it out of the box or not? Not the most in the world, so yes, I got it. So if you can all join me for our Italian friends. So this is not official, but in the meantime, I hand it over to you. Thank you very much. Thank you for this very symbolic handover between the French presidency and the Italian presidency. And we'll now discover the video presentation of the Italian presidency. Let's, to continue on this Italian presidency, we'll give the floor now to the Italian Ministry for Territorial Cohesion, who will join us on the video conference. Hello, Madam Minister, you have the floor. Thank you to the Secretary of State, Mr. Giroux, the local authorities, presidents of the regions, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy to speak today at the annual forum, despite all the commitment of Nice. I would like to thank first in the name of the Italian government, the French Presidency, and particularly Joël Giraud, for this initiative and these great results for these 2 years of difficulties. Despite all that, the presidency managed to guarantee a strong leadership and give momentum to the consolidation of the synergy. Italy will now take over of the presidency in 2022 with the autonomous provinces of Trento and Bolzano. Let me allow you to thank both presidents, Mr. Fugatan and Mr. Kompatscher, who agreed to be up to the challenge with only a few months to prepare. There are no other better testimonial of such as what showed the Alpine regions. We are aware that if we want to address the challenges of the macro-region strategy and contribute to the recovery and the energy transition, is the only way to do so is cooperation between states and different levels of governance. Dear friends, the programmation 21-27 gives us a great opportunity to reinforce the macro-regional strategies and make sure that they are embedded in the European investment programs as of for the programs concerning cohesion. USALP is one of the youngest strategy among the macro-regional strategies, but represent a great framework for the very essential challenges for the future of Europe. Italy has always safeguarded the specificities of the mountain territories when we were negotiating the cohesion policies. It is very important that the strategy can continue to dedicate to this theme its greatest attention by promoting the participation of all partners in all development processes. We must fight against territorial polarization by reinforcing the cooperation between mountain and city spaces, by reinforcing production areas. The macro-regional initiatives must allow us to make sure that the Alps are more connected, more sustainable, and more linked ones to the other among the regions. In order to increase the cooperation in the region by establishing a secure frame of cooperation and a rotating presidency, and all the partner countries can be fully involved in it. Our presidency must be inclusive, articulated, but also smooth, to be able to adjust the strategy to the local and regional policies. For example, we will launch a technical support structure to give our help to the missions with the Alpine Arc program and continue the collaboration with our French friends, which is a very useful exercise, and we hope that we can go back to the traditional format of the trio. The Italian Presidency 2022 has a main goal: ensure the continuity of everything that was done before, and very well done by our French, and capitalize on the results of these 2 years. We can make sure that the USALP is the laboratory for the transition towards a society that is more fair and more inclusive, that could develop fully the human capital and the huge potential of our Alps. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish everyone very good work. Thank you very much.
Merci, Madame la Ministre.
Thank you, Madam Minister. And we will also have Arnaud Kompatscher in a video conference. You have the floor. Thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this responsibility that is being entrusted to us, letting us take the responsibility. We have really checked the excellency of the French presidency in a very difficult context. Despite all this, the results were impeccable. The French presidency has managed to send us to a level of cooperation between the various regions, action groups, and we're now ready to intervene and to really move closer to the goal of continuity, like Madam Minister Carfagno told us. We're going to pursue in the previous years, and particularly during the French presidency. We are very motivated. We are very ambitious, but we have also a big responsibility on our shoulders. We, of course, want to continue with this action, propose ideas, and also be very concrete. The notion of embedding, which is implementation, was referred to a few times by Madame Ferreira, by Madame Carfagno. So there are European funds, the Cohesion funds, that will allow us to be concrete and implement our strategies, our measures, and the ideas that we will develop as we go. We must do this in a framework of collaboration and cooperation among the regions and under the umbrella of our house, our European home. We live in the heart of the Alps, and we must, before and foremost, apply the principle of subsidiarity, which is to find the solutions and the right measures to address the challenges of our everyday life, and to re-establish some links with people who make the decisions from a point of view of governance at different levels. And I am convinced that we will involve all the regions. Yesterday I was talking to the representative of a Swiss region, and I am sure that we will get them on board our action. And I hope that there will be translated in the future in more responsible actions within the framework of what we're doing in the Alpine world. I would like to end by saying again, repeating what I was saying yesterday, it's an on January 26th in Bolzano, and we will have Casa Clima with us, and we'll start working on this project. And we'll seize every opportunity that were presented to us by the crisis, new opportunities to address the new challenges with a new approach. The challenges of society, politics, European politics, and mostly in a context of the Alps. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and I will see you soon in Bolzano.
Thank you very much. We are now going to wrap up with Mr. Mikko Pisces, who is responsible for education and culture in the autonomous province of Trento, who was with us yesterday for the opening, and but couldn't stay, so he sent us a recorded message.
Buongiorno a tutti. Ieri ho avuto la fortuna di essere
Ladies and
presente
gentlemen,
con
hello.
voi qui a
Yesterday I
Nizza.
had the
Oggi
good fortune
purtroppo
of
per
being with
motivi
you in
istituzionali
Nice
devo essere
today.
nuovamente a
For
Trento, in provincia autonoma di Trento.
institutional
Abbiamo avuto
reasons,
ed
I've
abbiamo l'onore,
returned
assieme alla
to
provincia autonoma di
Trento.
Bolzano, di poter guidare a partire
Bolzano
da gennaio
Bolzano
la presidenza
province
italiana
and
per le USAL.
ourselves
Però ancora una
have the
volta, come ho
honor
fatto
of
ieri, ci tengo
becoming
veramente a
the
ringraziare
representatives
la
of the Italian
presidenza francese
presidency
per
as
il
of
lavoro
January of next year. I would like
un
to thank you
lavoro
once
fatto
again
durante anche un periodo molto
for the French
complicato
presidency.
legato alla pandemia, ma
You
credo che
had
il
a
successo
presidency during a very
di queste
difficult
due
period
giornate qui a
due to
Nizza
the
ci dia proprio
pandemic.
la
I think
forza per
we've had two very successful days
ripartire
in
con
Nice,
forza, con
and that will give us
entusiasmo
the
e con
strength to
tutte
kick
quelle
off in an
progettualità
enthusiastic
che abbiamo
manner.
discusso ieri e che so che state portando
And
avanti anche
we'll look
nella giornata di oggi. E perciò, oltre
driving
ai
all the
ringraziamenti
projects which
ovviamente
we've
al Ministro, ai
mentioned over
Presidenti
these
delle
couple of
regioni
days. Thank you
francesi,
to the
lasciatemi anche
ministers, the
salutare
presidents of
e
the
ringraziare
French
anche il
regions.
Ministro Mara
I would
Carfagna per lo
like
sforzo
to
che
thank
la nostra Presidenza,
the
che
Minister
l'Italia sta
Maracavana
facendo
for
in questa cornice per noi
the efforts
assolutamente
that
vitale
Italian
delle Alpi, un
making
territorio dove,
and,
nel quale i giovani devono poter
to
vivere, sviluppare
making
quella
sure
che
that
vuole essere la
youngsters will be
nostra
able to
economia
continue to
e il
live
nostro
in
futuro. In questo
mountains
scenario
and
tutti gli
and
sforzi,
that the
tutte le
economy will
iniziative che
thrive
l'USALP sta
there.
facendo sono
All
assolutamente
efforts,
fondamentali per
all
garantire
of
prosperità
the
e futuro non solo alle zone
projects are vital
dell'USALP,
for
ma come proprio
guaranteeing a
cerniera
prosperous
di
future,
congiunzione fra
not only for
appunto
our own
l'Europa
zone,
anche
but
a
to
tutta
make
l'Europa
our zone
stessa.
as
Perciò il mio vuole essere
into
veramente un
a
ringraziamento
key
a voi e vi
point
auguro ovviamente
between
quello
our
che vuole
region
essere un
and Europe. I'd
ottimo
like to thank
lavoro
all of
per
the
il nostro futuro.
participants, and I would like to wish you all some great work ahead. Thank you very much. So here we are at the very end of our annual forum. Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mr. Minister, Mr. VP, Madam General Delegate. Thank you, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, for being here throughout these 2 days, which really have boosted us all. Thank you very much. I would just like to say that lunch is served in the room called Les Muses. From 2:30, there's the tour of Nice for those of you who signed up for it. Meet in the lobby.